Throughout the original Keanu Reeves-starred John Wick films, there were plenty of examples of codified violence on killing. None of these instances were done without reason or intentional purpose, and everything done within the films were clearly intentional. However, there were particular instances where John acted without his code of ethics and did what he needed to end a particular fight that he was in. But the speculative scenario is this: John Wick's most disrespectful fight. When the original John Wick film was released in 2014, it was a relatively quiet time in Keanu Reeves' career and originally considered it to be an interesting part to play, but also had personal motivations in his life which made the role more appealing for him to do. Due to the actor having an incredible reputation in Hollywood and critics knowing the sort of devotion that he would put into his said appearances for film, anticipation for the future wasn't disappointing at all. The film was a success and brought back Keanu Reeves. The reputation to the film was so beneficial that it was later turned into a franchise. Due to the entire premise of the first film, the code shown in the film as John Wick being that of a professional killer was something that later came to dominate and was depicted in all of these said features that Keanu Reeves starred in as John Wick. In Chapter 2, Cassian was depicted as the faithful bodyguard of Gianna de Antonio, as through circumstances in the film, John Wick had to kill her by oath, but upon fleeing the scene, the pair encountered one another and naturally they had to fight. He later flees, but Cassian later tracks him down in New York City, and the pair speak in the Continental Hotel, as Cassian later explains his reasons on purpose to John Wick. Audiences are later given an understanding of him and his relation to John Wick through these particular conversations, as eventually the both of them settle their fight in a metro station and Cassian is later stabbed in the chest by John Wick, as he mentioned the particular blade is right near a critical artery in the lungs, and a faulty move would or could kill him instantly. John Wick later leaves the station, ultimately leaving the fate of him unknown. The fate of Cassian was a source of contention or even debate among audiences of the film or even fans of the John Wick franchise of the time and since, relating to the premise of the characters in the John Wick franchise of not necessarily being dead even when circumstances somewhat confirmed it. Popular opinion initially had it that Cassian was somehow alive and could or would potentially return in a future installment of the John Wick franchise. These speculations surrounding Cassian's potential death became so apparent and so prominent that the actor who portrayed the character made public statements that his character would not be returning in Chapter 3. Naturally, as a result of no necessary mentions or depictions of the fate with Cassian, there had to be no other possibility that he had died of his wounds, as depicted in the final scene of the character when John Wick left the metro station. In the time since, further speculations had it that John Wick's handling of the fight with Cassian was somewhat unique or even peculiar, since John Wick would either clearly kill or clearly spare those he had came across. Cassian's situation with a lethal injury that could depend on the circumstance as to which was interpreted by the audience was clearly different and not necessarily duplicated at the time. Essentially, consensus later held that for John Wick to not clearly kill nor clearly spare Cassian had it through lore and detail as well as confusion to the lack of clarification in the films to be arguably John Wick's most disrespectful fight and end result.